Today, I want to share 3 stories from my life, no big deal, just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after just 6 months, but continued to hang around as a drop-in for another 18 months before I truly left. Why did I drop out? It began even before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student who decided to put me up for adoption. She was determined that I should be adopted by college graduates. Everything was set for my adoption at birth by a lawyer and his wife, but at the last minute, they decided they wanted a girl instead. My parents, who were on the waiting list, received a call in the middle of the night asking if they wanted an unexpected baby boy. They said yes. Later, my biological mother discovered that my adoptive mother had never graduated college. My father hadn't finished high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers until my parents promised that I would go to college. 17 years later, I enrolled, but I naively chose a school that was nearly as expensive as Stanford. My working-class parents' savings were quickly being depleted for my tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life or how college would help me discover that. I made the decision to drop out and trust that everything would work out. At the time, it felt scary, but looking back, it was one of the best choices I ever made. Once I dropped out, I could stop attending classes that didn't interest me and start exploring the ones that did. It wasn't all glamorous. He didn't have a dorm room and slept on friends' floors. I returned Coke bottles for 5-cent deposits to buy food and walked 7 miles every Sunday night for a good meal. At the Hare Krishna temple, I loved it. Much of what I discovered by following my curiosity turned out to be invaluable. For example, Reed College had some of the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Since I wasn't bound to the usual classes, I took a calligraphy course. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, spacing between letters, and what makes great typography. It was artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture. None of this seemed practical at the time, but 10 years later, when designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came rushing back. We created the first computer with beautiful typography. If I hadn't dropped into that calligraphy class, the perhaps personal computers, as we know them, might not have had the elegant typography they do today. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. You must trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future, whether it's your gut, destiny, or karma. Believing that the dots will connect will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the conventional path. Love and loss. My second story is about love and loss. I was fortunate to discover my passion early. I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked tirelessly, and in 10 years, Apple grew from just the 2 of us into a billion-dollar company with over 4,000 employees. We had just released the Macintosh, and I had just turned 30 when I got fired. How does someone get fired from a company they founded? As Apple expanded, we hired someone I believe was exceptionally talented to run the company with me. For the first year, things went well, but eventually, our visions diverged, leading to a falling out. When it happened, the board sided with him, and suddenly, at 30, I was up very publicly out. What had been my entire focus was gone, and it was devastating. I felt like I had let down the previous generation of entrepreneurs and thought about leaving the valley altogether. But something slowly dawned on me. I still loved what I did. The events at Apple hadn't changed my passion. I was rejected, but I was still in love. I decided to start over. It turned out that being fired from Apple was one of the best things that ever happened to me. The weight of success was lifted, allowing me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. Over the next 5 years, I founded Next and Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and became the most successful animation studio globally. In a remarkable twist, Apple later acquired Next, bringing me back to the company. The technology we developed at Next is now at the heart of Apple's current resurgence, and I have a wonderful family. I'm convinced none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but sometimes life hits you with a brick. Don't lose faith. You must find what you love. This truth applies as much to your work as it does to your relationships. Your work will occupy a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do great work. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep searching and don't settle. You'll know when you find it, And like any great relationship, it just gets better over time. My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that resonated with me. If you live each day as if it were your last, someday you will most certainly be right. This made a lasting impression. For the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself if today were my last day, would I want to do what I'm about to do? When the answer has been no for too many consecutive days, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon has been the most powerful tool in making significant life choices. Almost everything external expectations, but fear of embarrassment or failure falls away in the face of death, leaving only what truly matters. Remembering your mortality helps you avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked, so there's no reason not to follow your heart. No one wants to die. Even those who wish for heaven are reluctant to die to get there. Yet death is the one destination we all share, and it is as it should be. It's life's change agent, clearing out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you, but someday, you'll gradually become the old and be cleared away. I apologize for the dramatic tone, but it's true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. Most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Stay hungry, stay foolish.